I'm Kimberly and this is Floral Art Online, and we're continuing our series of using one bunch of supermarket flowers for Christmas designs. Now today I'm going to show you something that's a little bit more complicated than perhaps some of the other videos that you've looked at in this series, and we're going to use some paper doilies. We're going to make a container that is a double-edged container, and then in the next video after this one we're going to repurpose this container and use it for another type of design. So basically what I've got is, I've lost my trusty assistant. He's gone off overseas with his parents for Christmas, and so I'm here on my own trying to work out where all of the little bits that he usually looks after go. So bear with me if there's a few hiccups during this recording. So what we've got is basically, you can't see it all that well because I've covered it up already. It's a yogurt container, so a plastic container, and what we've started to cover it with is paper doilies. Now the paper doilies that are the ones that you would get, these ones came in a pack with 3 different sizes in them. I think there's plenty for any kind of design in them. And what we've done is simply fold them. For the outside ones, the taller ones, because I want it to go above the rim of the container, I've folded it into 1/3 and 2/3, and with the fold on that extra piece on the outside, as you'll see in a minute. And then what we do is add cones around the outside for an added layer of placing our plant material, and into those will go some glass vials. These are once again from the craft store, the $2 store. Just see if I can make it easier for you to see. They're in the craft section, in the scrapbooking, or close to the scrapbooking section. They come in packs of 6 and not terribly expensive. Back to the folding. So what we're making the cones for the outside is the next size down from the larger doilies, and we basically just roll it into a cone shape. So I shall turn on the trusty glue gun so that we can do these last couple of placements and have them ready for putting it all together. So what we would normally do with this is, perhaps rather than have it completely open, we put some of the wire in. Now you will have seen that technique in one of the other videos. Just basically any soft pliable wire that you can scrunch up into a ball and put in there. And what that does is provide a structure for your placement of the plant material, of the stems that you're going to put in there, so that it holds it in the places that you want. On this occasion I'm going to put baubles in there because I've got plenty and I'm using them up. And I think lots of us have those little leftover bits and pieces of Christmas things, and I was trying this year to use up all of the things that I've got in storage that are just bits and pieces of things that have been left over from years gone by. So doing a little bit of a tidy up, and in the process getting some designs out that might be of use to you in your celebrations. So glue gun's ready. What we're doing with the cone is basically just rolling it up. Fold the doily in half, roll it up, make sure it's a size that your vial will, your water source will fit into, and then just one stripe of glue down the edge. Now you'll notice today I haven't got the floral art fingers on. That's because I've left them inside. But for those of you who struggle using the hot melt glue, have a look on the side. The link will be in the description for floral art fingers. They're basically a silicone fingertip that you put on, and it protects you from burning your fingers with the hot melt glue, or even if you're using the florist glue, what we call the cold glue, that won't stick to them either. So that's a real bonus for people who are using that, because it's a nightmare to try and get off. Floral art fingers, description will have the link. Now in this one we're just going to finish off the outside covering. I've basically got the 3 rounds around the top. Just make sure you've got the outside fold, the decorative fold on the outside, just because that gives it another dimension of colour. And we'll put a bit of glue across the bottom just to get it started. And a few bits on the ends. Get them down. There we have our container ready to go. The next step in the process is to add these cones, and what we want to look for is that join that we made, and make sure that that join is at the back where you're joining it on. Now you can join them down a little bit lower if you want to, which we might do. I think that looks a bit nicer than trying to have them up there, but there's no reason to not have them up there, because they will support the vial that goes into them. Now you can do this one of two ways. You can attach the vial to it and glue it in there, and some of you might have little plastic ones that you can get from florist supply places online. Because I want to reuse the glass ones, I'm not going to glue them on this occasion, but not, if you were gluing them, you just run your glue along the edge of the container, whatever you're using, and then just press it in to where you've got that join at the back, because that's the load bearing, the weight bearing area of the vase, and so it's going to have water in it, it's going to have then the plant material in it, so we want it to have as much a solid join. Lost for words today. Too much thinking about Christmas. So what I'm going to do is actually glue all these along, so that you can see how that looks with a double layer of the material. Just make sure that you glue them straight. Don't try and join them up, join the cones up, because you won't get them to join all the way around. What you can do is just have a few, not do it completely round. I'll do it completely round, but you could have just a few. So 2 in different places, or 3 in different places. Just it's one of those things that you can mix and match and play with, and decide what sort of placements you want. Might depend on how many flowers you've got left in your bunch. So we got the chrysanthemums again. And these ones are the more in the Christmassy colours. So they're got the green centre and the reddish, orangish. Not orange, red, purplish flowers or petals on the outside. 4 stems, but you can see how many, with the chrysanthemums, you can see how many flowers you actually get on each stem. So it's about cutting them down and using them a bit more judiciously than just using them stem by stem. That way you're going to get lots of designs out of your one bunch of supermarket flowers. So look for flowers, unless you want the big show of one single flower or one big showy flower. Look for the varieties of flowers that have multiple flowers on the one stem, because obviously you're going to get better value for the money that you're spending. So let's get gluing and get these items into some sort of placement. And what I'm looking for there is just the last join, because that's where I'll start gluing the placements. Bit of glue down that join that you've already got there, and then just pressing it down. I shall continue to glue, and you'll probably see the sped up version, because you don't need to see the slow version of me gluing, I'm sure. Right, so there we have our finished container, and you can see I've put them around. They're not evenly spaced, but it's not about it being perfect. If you'd like to see this particular technique, there is also another one that I did a while ago now with some people who were just starting out. This was the second thing that they actually made in terms of a flower arrangement. And so I'll put the link to that down below as well in the description, so you can see what they did with their particular containers that they used. And that wasn't about Christmas, it was just about let's have a play and see what we can do. So now we've got our container ready to do our placements. What I want to do first of all is, obviously, you could, if you were having a very traditional Christmas lunch or Christmas celebration, it goes back to an earlier age. Obviously made a little bit lacy if you had very old-fashioned flowers. So you could do roses in it and roses in the top. That would be more than one bunch though, let me tell you. So we'll put some of these vials in here and we'll get some water in them. At the moment I'm just going to do, some of the cones are not as wide as the others, so those that are not wide enough for the vial to sit in comfortably, I'm not going to use the vials. I don't like them sticking out too high above the paper itself. But I am going to put other things in those vials. So we've got 2, 4, 6 vials in there, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 empty combs that we can use. In the centre, as you would have seen right at the beginning, I'm going to put some baubles in first of all and then put the water in, and then the baubles will hold them in place, but also just gives it a little bit more of a Christmas feel. Means that you use less flowers, obviously, because that's taking up the volume of the container that's there. So let me get all of that prepared. Water in the vials, water in this container, then the baubles in, so that we have our placements where we want them to be, and we'll finish off the design with the flowers. So here we are back again with our little container. What I've done is put 2 plain damaged baubles in the container itself, and these 2 just on the top. Once again, not worried about having the hangers up straight, just look like they've collected themselves there. What I've put in the blank holes are these large Christmas bells. They're just placed into the top of those containers. If you wanted a bit more security, you could put a little bit of a toothpick or a bamboo skewer, any of the cut-off ends that we've used in previous designs, and place those, and that will hold it in place nicely without it moving around too much. But I quite like the idea of them moving around a little bit. If you carry it around, it's going to ring. You could also glue them in if you were worried about it. So we've got water in our little vials, and what I've done is already pre-cut the flowers that I'm going to put in there. What I did was choose, out of the bunch that we had, I chose the ones that were lower down. So they're already opened and got shorter stems than some of the others. We want the length of the longer stems to go into the middle section of this container. So these are all cut. I might have to adjust the heights a little bit. The foliage is taken off them so that they won't discolour and damage the water. We've got 6 of those. So let's just do our straight placements. Might have them just a little bit less. Fresh cut into the water keeps them nice and hydrated, so that they will continue to be on display for you for a nice bit of time around Christmas. You can see already how that not having flowers on everyone just gives it a little bit more of a Christmassy feel, a little bit more of a party celebration feel. This is one that you could use for any sort of celebration. It wouldn't necessarily have to be for Christmas. You could have other sorts of, you remember we talked in one of the earlier videos about getting the baubles after Christmas when the sales are on, in all the different colours, so that you could have this as it'd be a lovely table centre. Be great as a wedding table centre, easy to make. You can make it well ahead of time and a little bit different for a special celebration, or make one and just repurpose it all the time. So there we have our outside placements, and then all we need to do is find some nice long stems to put in here, remembering that we talked about proportions. So we're going to go a little bit high, probably here, because we want the height of the flowers to be at least the same as the container, if not a little bit higher. Just easier on our eyes. So we'll pick one of the stems. We might use two, but we'll just pick one first of all and see how that looks. Drop it. I wasn't talking to the dog, I was talking to the bunch of flowers. So once again, need to strip off any of the foliage that's going to be below the water or might be distracting in terms of our placement. At the moment I'm going to leave that one on and see if it will be below the water line, but see if it just weaves its way nicely out of the baubles that are already in there. We also want to take off any foliage that's damaged because it doesn't look any good, and any of these areas where I've already taken the flowers off, those stems, we want to trim those off as well, because we don't need to have the empty stems in your design. Just making it look neat. So once again, we just measure, make sure we've got the right height. We will use another stem, so we'll probably use two stems in here. Trial and error, always cut longer than you think you'll need, because you can always cut it down, but you can't add it in once you've cut it that first time. So what we want is the baubles to hold our middle placement in place, so to speak. So we'll just maneuver them around till we've got the second one in. Now if you had other baubles, you could probably put them around there and just have the one stem, but we will put another stem in just to fill it out nicely. This one I haven't damaged too much. I haven't taken too many flowers. You can just see I've taken a few of the flowers off, so I'll trim those ends off. I saw an article this week about how we're not treating our plant material, our flowers, as kindly as we should. It's an interesting take on using plant material. Often when I know with the people that I associate with most in terms of competition, we'll actually talk to the flowers and we'll ask them to behave and be good about where we want them to be. Stay in place. And we have one memorable competitor who manages to do placements that bow to the judges when they come past. So it's always very entertaining to be in competition when she's around. Great lot of fun. Now those two placements, I'd like them to be twisted around one another a little bit to hold them in place, because we do have some other baubles to add in. And once again, these are a technique that I showed you in one of the earlier videos, just the baubles themselves with I use obviously the longest length of the bamboo skewers, the satay sticks, just so that I've got plenty of room to adjust if I need to. And so we're going to put these in, and these will hold those flower placements in place. So we've used two stems, and the flowers around the outside we could safely say have come from these stems as well, because you saw how many empties I cut off. trim these down a little bit. And poke them in so that they're holding our plant material in place. It's going to behave for me. And so you can see, this is all planned, of course. I'm doing this so you can see that even for us, things don't always go according to plan. You do have to adjust and play with your designs a little bit to get them where you want. Now that one could probably be a little bit lower again, but I won't trim it too much. She said, trimming it again. Mix and match, that's the motto. Play with it till you get it right. Doesn't have to be perfect the first time, not for us even, no matter how many competitions we've done or how many demonstrations we've done. So there we have our finished design using just 2 stems of flowers from your supermarket bunch for a bit of a party look for your Christmas table. I hope you've found that technique useful. Remember, the link for how to do the container step by step is in the description below. I'm Kim Bailey. This is Floral Art Online, the Supermarket One Bunch series.